We must experience everything, Bella. This makes us whole.
If you loved Poor Things and love thinking about story and archetypes, you are in the right place. Join the journey as we merge a passion for tarot with a love of film and dive into this amazingly rich cinematic work of art. Hello, tarot and/or film fans. I am thrilled to finally share with you my first video of this kind. My name is Jenna Roberts with Present Path, and I am a professional tarot reader with decades of experience and a film degree that needs dusted off. Even if you don't know the tarot, the archetypes in it are essential to understanding story and the human experience. Both Carl Jung and Joseph Campbell were huge fans of the tarot, so you might learn to love it as well if you don't already. Spoiler alert. Please heed this warning fully. We are about to give away the golden details of a truly surprising and spectacular film. Please, for the love of all things holy in cinema, if you have not yet watched Poor Things, then put this in your saved videos list for watch later and go see the movie first. It's a moral imperative and it's going to make this video a lot more fun. That said, please also subscribe to my channel and like this video. It means a lot to me. I do intend to make more videos like this that merge tarot and movies, and you can also book an online session with me to learn how to read the cards yourself or to get a reading of your own. If you like, you can also send me a little donation, and all of this is in the link in the description. I want to start with a 1-minute tarot overview to make the following along easier. So here's the super basics that you need to know if this is new to you. The tarot is a deck of 5 suits of the major and minor arcana. The minor arcana are related to a playing card deck with 4 suits, each representing one of the elements, along with the court cards for that suit that are the personalities of that element. Each of these reflects an aspect of life, which I will explain in regards to the film today. The major arcana is 22 cards. It starts with an adventurous fool as 0, the unexplored potential of a beginner seedling before they are fully formed. The 21 cards after that take the fool on the hero's journey, or heroine's journey in this case. When I say the name of a card, it's one of these. These 21 cards can be broken up into 3 sets of 7 cards each, called a septenary. The first septenary is all about the familiar or ordinary world that the hero starts out in. In Poor Things, the black and white beginning segment meets Bella in her formative years and introduces these factors of her journey. Bella herself is a wild combination of the Fool card, the hero in its infancy, mingled with the Empress card as the pure feminine. Bella is a sort of Frankenstein or Pygmalion story, and it's a literal combination of mother and child in one human. In a way, this has like a divinity about it, and her name being Bella hints that she is something of a goddess of beauty in a way that goes beyond her pretty face. The character is a second chance for the feminine spirit to emerge. Since we later learned that she was held captive by a truly toxic masculinity in her former life, Bella has an opportunity at rebirth as a woman into a new way of pure being. This round, she will also shirk off all attempts to hold her captive. Bella is formulated by her creator Godwin. He is a doctor or alchemist, which correlates directly to the Magician card. He also represents the Emperor card of the masculine father. His name is God, short for Godwin, but we all know that is not a subtle symbolism. He has a literal cross scarred into the left side of his face, so yeah, not subtle, Yorgos. God also hails from a dark history with a horrific father who tortured and tested the limits of pain with scientific experiments on his own son, including cutting God's masculinity away. Throughout the film, his character often reflects acceptance on the scientific mind that his father's intentions came from, validating cruelty through the lens of ultra-reason, which is a very patriarchal habit of the Emperor card. This makes Godwin into the King of Swords court card as well, with his purely logical mentality, who Bella quotes at one point saying, "It is only the way it is until we discover the new way it is." Very King of Swords. God, who is also called the Monster by his surgery students, is unable to have children of his own, as he is a eunuch from his father's experiments. His Magician card impulse to create and spark his intentional will into life is a part of his surgical work, evident in the odd hybrid of animals running around the house. Bella is his closest thing to a spawn daughter, Later in the film, God even tries to replace her with a new human hybrid experiment of Felicity. In ironic contrast to her name, she brings him no happiness as he finds her progress less impressive and aligns his affection for her with the chicken dog. Again, the King of Swords' coolness of intellect. This failed effort of Felicity is a hint at how little influence God's controlled experiment has over the results. Bella and Felicity are their own unique results of the same experiment in the same setting. I find it relevant that the character of God doesn't even believe in a soul, and yet he witnesses these immensely different results from his replicated studies. Early on, God employs Max, who scientifically observes Bella's progress. He falls in love with her, and God asks him to wed her so they can keep her close within the confines of the house. She's been having temper tantrums in her desire to explore. The walls of the house being painted with outdoor scenery is not quenching her cravings. Upon returning home from her first outing, Bella discovers her own sexual pleasure to make happy when she wants. The combination of events is the Lover's card in the film, her first venture out, Max becoming her fiancé. Those are relevant, but at this point it is Bella's awakening to her own sexuality that is the most relevant Lover's card archetype of divine connection. When she uses an apple at the dinner table to work on herself, she may as well have plucked it straight from the tree of Eden, represented in the classic Dex Lover card. Godwin is actually very progressive as an intellectual and does not admonish her for this behavior, saying men's, indeed all sexuality, is basically immoral. Max questions this, and then the film brings in Duncan Wedderborn's character to represent this logic. Almost immediately, the lawyer who misspells documents gets curious about this glorious creature these men are trying to hold captive. This works well for Bella, who is desperate to experience life beyond the locked windows. God, as the magician archetype, has actually set this will in motion when he tells her that her parents were explorers, placing in her mind the story that she comes from the ilk of adventurers. So even though he doesn't like her leaving, God planted that seed. Duncan whisks her away, representing the Chariot card. Our world changes to color in the first shot of Bella riding Duncan astride like a horse, so he's quite the chariot. Another symbol of this sex position is reflective of Lilith, the first wife of Adam, who refused to lie beneath him in biblical lore. She was cast away and replaced with a more subservient Eve. The first shot of that switches us from black to white to color at this low angle of Bella towering over Duncan as she concentrates on pleasing herself. This enters us into Bella's age of exploration, which aligns with the minor arcana wand's suit of fire and passion. She's thrust into, both literally and metaphorically, the ecstasy of sensations, spontaneity, sumptuous food, music, dance, drink, and that characterizes this era. Wands is a suit of desire and sex and energetic action, and all about this aspect of Bella's development, as Duncan says, "You, like me, are a creature of freedom in the moment."
People not just do this all the time.
Duncan is a king of wands in reversed shadow form, with his impulsive, selfish, attention-seeking behaviors. He is also tied to the Hierophant card, which is an archetypal card about systems, such as our cultural agreements. Duncan abhors the regulations of polite society and considers himself something of a rebel against its boundaries, but he is still very much working within the system and structure of polite society and benefiting from it. In the dance scene, Duncan is acting as a bridge keeper, trying to normalize her wild dance with his own strange moves to keep up appearances. He seems to be trying to give the impression to others that they are doing a highly cultured, unique dance, rather than let loose and enjoy the moment himself, and he takes her back to the table quickly. Bella, on the other hand, is completely her own being and is neither aware nor limited by the impressions she might make on society. Perhaps the mirror of her natural anarchy is what drives Duncan insane the most, breaking the illusion of his own identity as a rogue player and showing him that he is very much a part of the system that he abhors. Duncan can't regulate her strength card, fortitude on land, So he kidnaps Bella onto a ship. The cabin walls here are also decorated with both trees and buildings, reflective of the decor in God's house, where she was first held captive. She soon meets Martha and Harry, who educate her in the ways of philosophy, and we thus begin Bella's swords suit era. Swords are the air element and are all about the mind and communication, and she regularly becomes a thesaurus when expressing herself as she dives into books and philosophy.
And ideas are banging around in Bella's head and heart like lights in a storm.
The hermit behavior of inner seeking and self-education creates more distance between Duncan and herself. This infuriates him as he tears the books from her hands and tries in vain to push Martha off the boat. It's extra funny in that he was the one who told her that he could not offer any consistency of love, and she's the one who's more polyamorous and flippant about this attachment.
Do you want to see what the world is really like?
Yes.
Harry introduces Bella to the suffering of the world on a trip out to a hotel in Alexandria, and she awakens to self-awareness with newfound concern for her own influence on others. This can be seen as her death card puberty, as she breaks free of the self-centered whimsy of childhood into the beginnings of her own adulthood. That this revelation takes place on an actual tower with crumbling foundations aligns it with the agony of the tower card falling, showing us where we have built our life on falsehoods. This is a moment where our heroine passes through from a world of lightheartedness into stark reality. She laments, "I need to offer something to the world, and yet I have nothing." Bella wore all white in her first septenary phase of infancy at God's house, and wears a white dress again as she goes out with Harry to the Tower of this realization. In her first justice card moment, Bella attempts to gift all of Duncan's money and gambling winnings to the poor, thus turning his wheel of fortune in reverse. Her good deeds fail when she hands the money over to the ship stewards, who are obviously going to keep it for themselves. This validates Harry's cynicism about our helplessness to save others or humanity, which can also be seen as a hanged man message of surrendering fully to acceptance of what life is. Duncan and Bella end up in Paris without income, and there's a little funeral procession behind them as another death card when they break up over her making money through selling sex. Duncan takes all the cash that she has been left by her father, not leaving her much option but to return to prostitution. Thus begins Bella's Pentacles era of building her earthly resources in both income and her community with her fellow prostitute Toinette, who takes her to socialist meetings to improve the world. When Duncan calls Toinette and Bella whores, she replies, "We are our own means of production." Bella also begins to understand the nature of doing something you love to the point that it loses its fun. She acknowledges that I am a flawed and experimenting person. These details all play into the pragmatic mentality of a Pentacles suit, the Pentacles court characters. It should also be noted that despite these scenes including a lot of sex, they are filmed very differently than the scenes with Duncan. The camera focuses primarily on Bella's face during most of the humping. There is actually not a lot of full-scale female nudity with her clientele, other than being displayed when the men are choosing. It's not very titillating or sexy, to me at least. This is not about the male gaze, it's about Bella's experience. There's also a new scale of time through this phase, giving a sense that she's in the temperance card of integrating slowly the various parts of herself into a full-fledged adult. She begins wearing a simple black dress, hinting at her finding a certain solidity of self from her wild previous outfits. Bella is taken into this journey by Madame Swiney, who likely represents a level of the devil card in how she is bringing Bella into service of temptations of men and manipulating the prostitutes for her own needs through chocolate and compliments. Swiney explains to Bella that she needs to exploit the whores to not have choice in order to protect the livelihood that supports her poorly child. This is a perfect Pentacles suit style of reasoning that often is at the heart of environmental challenges around the world. Side note, I also learned that this actress, Catherine Hunter, was the first woman to play King Lear in London on stage. She's the coolest, and I want to see everything she's in. Bella returns home to find God on his deathbed, marking the first time she's following her heart toward love of others. This welcomes in the era of the watery cup suit of emotions and the spiritual. She has returned home in the Sun card as her whole self, both as an adult and still a sort of child at the same time, and ready to begin her journey in her spiritual calling as a surgeon. Bella is a very unique Fool card in that she has no shame. The Moon card would typically relate to her coming to terms with her subconscious turmoil, but this movie turns that trope on its head, as her particular Moon card has more to do with society imposing its views upon her. She's mystified by these people who all have to come to terms with their own feelings around what she's done with her body as a prostitute.
The whore's back.
Felicity smashes meat whilst repeating, "Belle, whore." Her disinterest in their feelings around this really captures the true irrationality of us judging sex workers who are taking part in the world's oldest profession. When Max says that he is only jealous of the men for the time they shared with her, he establishes himself as worthy of her love and as a lover's card figure.
It is your body, Bella Baxter. Yours to give freely.
And she asks him to marry her. I also appreciate that he asked her to get her STIs tested. Thanks, Max. Good PSA there.
I generally charged 30 francs.
Well, that seems low.
Bella has found out in Paris that her belly scar is likely from an abortion. She faces a reckoning with God and learns her true identity in a quintessential Judgment card moment of awakening to a powerful new truth. Bella says, "I am finding being alive fascinating, so I forgive you the act." We dive deeper into the Judgment card truths as she returns back to her prior home with her husband, Alfie. He finds her at the wedding with the help of Duncan, who emphasizes the male right to ownership, even if it's not for his own gain. Notice that she's again wearing all white, as she's returning to the beginning as something of an innocent, albeit less naive now. This return to her past also leans into the cup suit, as it relates to nostalgia and working through the emotions of what has come before us. Bella learns that she was once a cruel-humored and deeply unhappy person with an evil husband. She was named Victoria Blessington, which clearly derives from victory and blessing. This hints at how Bella is now in the final stage of her heroine's journey. We come full circle to find Bella held captive in a home of luxury once more, but this time with a far worse host. It's interesting that Alfie informs Bella that Victoria called the baby a monster, which she has been called by Duncan, and her god has been called by society. We also learn that Victoria had a strong sex drive as well, one of the only details of human nature that carried over into Bella, with him saying, "Your sexual hysteria was often out of hand." Alfie represents the darkest grotesque of toxic masculinity, as he wants to mutilate and impregnate her to gain full ownership of her body. Can I just say that if she didn't get knocked up all the time romping in Paris, I'm guessing she's barren by now? Thank goddess, Bella escapes from losing her cherished clitoris by using her knowledge of science to throw chloroform in his face. That this jerk ends up surgically morphed with a goat brain really speaks to his devil card nature, which often presents the devil as a goat-human hybrid. Side note that multiple of my friends were expecting Bella to put God's brain into Alfie's body, and I agree that would have been a really intriguing direction. But he wasn't dead yet when Alfie showed up. Although Bella already has forgiven God, it seems to me that her knowing this truth of Victoria's past life gives her the freedom of more deeply accepting the life that God gave her, which presumes she can give him more full forgiveness before his own death. We end in the Garden of the World card. Bella has returned home from her adventures as an awakened spirit. Swiney summarizes the World card perfectly when she says, "We must experience everything, not just the good, but degradation, horror, sadness. Then we can know the world, and when we know the world is ours. This makes us whole." It seems that Bella ends the movie whole in herself and her community, ready to embark on an anatomy exam to begin her life anew as a proper surgeon, like her beloved God and her partner now Max, perhaps even to make more creations beyond her bleeding ex-husband. This story is an arc from innocence to sophistication, which is an essential aspect of any hero's journey. What's great about Poor Things is that it is not a male hero's journey with a female person replacing the hero in an inherently masculine experience, which is very common in wide-release Hollywood films. This story would not translate if it were about Bob instead of Bella. This is a heroine's journey about toppling the shame and expectations impressed upon women with her artful indifference, which is perhaps a more feminine power and strength than angry war battles. Poor Things as a developmental tale is about how society robs you of the truth of yourself, but Bella defeats this graciously and over a very naturally female journey. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe and share this with your friends and share your own insights in the comments. This is only one way to interpret this film through the tarot, and I welcome all other angles. I do intend to make more videos that explore cinema and TV through the archetypes of tarot. This video took me a lot more time and effort than a typical one, so you can support videos like these by donating, or better yet, come learn to read the cards or get a personal reading with me. As a writer, I can also help you see your own novel or script through the classical archetypes of the tarot. Tarot is a wonderful art that I love sharing with others, so hit me up. Let's geek out together. Use the links in the descriptions. Thank you so much. I also want to share that I was inspired to make videos like these by Tom van der Linden of Like Stories of Old YouTube channel. So I hope you'll go check that out now if you want to enjoy this type of subject matter further. Thank you and have a lovely day.